the following of our tutorials on the arrays, I'm going to talk about the splice. So what if we want to remove items using splice instead of adding the items? So you can easily add or remove items using splice, and here we want to learn how we can remove. So if you are not familiar with pop or push up to now, you can easily use splice to add any item to any place you want or remove any item from anywhere you like from the array. So here I can write my array, and then I can write .splice, and then I can write inside of the parentheses I can write the position that of the item that I want to remove. So let us here imagine that we want to remove Katrina. And as you can remember, Katrina was the second item in the position number 1. So we want to remove Katrina, or for example, we want to remove Cillian. Doesn't really matter. We need to memorize the position of that element. So here I want to remove Katrina, the position number 1, and then how many elements you want to remove from the beginning of this number. So for example, if you want to remove Katrina and the other name after it, so for example, you want to remove Katrina and Andy, you can write 2. Or if you want to only remove Katrina, you can write 1. So if I save this code and refresh the page, so my cursor is irritating me. Okay. Here, as you can see, we have Andy, Brad, Sarah, Katrina, Michael. Something seems to be wrong here. Let me see what's going on. So, because I've removed something. So before this, let me save the code and refresh the page. We had Andy, Cillian, Brad, Sarah, Katrina, Michael, and Mary. Okay, this was where it was. So here we want to remove Cillian. Okay, so it's in the position number 1, and it's only one item. So we want to remove Cillian. So there will be Andy, Brad, Sarah, Katrina, Michael, and Mary. So by uncommenting this, saving the code, and refreshing the page, let me see what happens here. So we have Andy, Brad, Sarah, Katrina, Michael, and Mary. So we don't have Cillian here between Andy and Brad. So the second one here is Brad instead of Cillian. So here, if I use 2 instead of 1, we will be able to see that even Brad is removed. So let me save the code. So 2 items will be removed. We had Cillian and Brad, and now Brad has been removed as well. We have Andy, we had Cillian, Brad, Sarah. Now we have Andy, Sarah. So 2 items beginning from position number 1. And there are 2 items, so position number 1 and 2 are removed, meaning that the second one and the third one are removed from the list of the array elements. So there we go. So we've learned how to remove the items from anywhere we want, any number that we want, and whether we want to remove it or add it. So it's totally up to us. And so using all of these methods, we can modify the whole array, and we've now completely learned how to do it here. Splice will suffice, and we won't need to use even pop or unshift or push or any other function right here from here to here. So from pop to unshift, you can just instead of memorizing all of these methods, you can simply memorize splice and how to work with it, and then it will suffice. It will do all of the things that all of these functions do, but just learning how to work with it. So now here, imagine that we want to divide this array into 2 arrays. So the first one, we want to have the girls, and in the second one, we want to have the boys. So we can do this, and we can do this by simply, so here Mary is now with Katrina and Sarah, so we can do that, but in order for you to simply better understand, I'm going to also pop Mary. So I'm going to remove Mary as well and then do what we wanted to do. So I can write my array dot pop, and that's it. So we will not have Mary anymore. Let's save the code and refresh the page. We don't have Mary. Okay, we have Sarah and Katrina between Michael and Andy. And imagine that we want to have a subset of this array, which is here, and that one is going to contain only the girls. So here I can write my array dot, and here we can use the function slice, and then here we can determine from where to where, so what part of this array that we want. And by the way, we need to define another variable and call it girls. Okay, so const girls equals to my array slice, and then we're going to start from the first one up to the second one, or up to the third one, sorry. So it's going to start from Sarah to Michael. So Sarah is the first one, and here up to Katrina, but up to the end of Katrina. So it will be number 3. So here, let me save the code and refresh the page. Didn't seem to work. So what happened here? So, okay, because we're not doing it for the goals, so we're not showing that. So the first one, the array is not going to be modified, and instead we're going to have a new array which is girls, and then if I console.log girls, console.log girls array, save the code and refresh the page. Let's see what happens here. We have Sarah and Katrina as a result. So here we learned how to have a subset of this array, and then be able to modify the second array created from the first array. So we learned how to create girls array from this whole student, or any group that you call it, array, and there we go. So the first array, the original array, didn't change, or it wasn't modified, but here the array that we got from the slice method is a subset of the first array. Okay, that's it. So this is an array. So if we want to have the boys, we can do this for from 0 to 1, and then from 2 to 3. So we can define const boys, and then I can write my array dot slice, and here from 0 to 1, and then I can write, so we want to concatenate something to the boys, so I can write boys dot concat, which is another method that we use to concatenate or link to, or add two arrays together. So we're going to link them or add them or connect them together. So here I'm going to use concatenate, and then I'm going to write my array dot, and here we used slice, and then inside of it I can write the number from which the last one is. So we had first I write from 0 to 1, so from Andy to Sarah, and then from the number 3 to number 4. Number 3 to 4, so we don't have 4, so we can write nothing. Instead of it, we can only write 3. Here we can also write 0, but 1 is also needed. So we should have both of them. So there we go. You can now console.log boys as well. Console.log boys array. Save the code and refresh the page. Oh, and here we have Andy, and why is that happening? So probably this one didn't work very well. So let us console.log this one, my array.slice, and see why that happened. First, save the code. This one is resulting in Michael. So Michael should be concatenated with the Andy. So these two are one element arrays that needs to be concatenated together. So let us press Ctrl Z. Save the code as well. So when we want to use concatenate, let me move the cursor over that. So in concatenate we should have the array that concatenate, concat, up to now everything good, and then we are going to add the other element. Okay, that must work, but because this is just the element that we wanted, probably we need to write a 0 as well in order to only focus on the elements, not the array. So let me save the code and refresh the page. Again, we have Andy. So let me check what the problem can be. Okay, now I think the best way to do this and make this happen is to create another array here and call it const boys2, and save this right here, and then we're going to concatenate the two arrays together. So boys and boys2. So first of all, we need to define that to be able to concatenate the two. So let's save the code and refresh. So something seems to be wrong. We can try this. We can console.log boys2 as well. Okay, that's the reason this is happening is because so we can write boys 2 and save the code. Then we can refresh the page. We have Andy and Michael up to now, and then we can concatenate them together. So let me do this afterwards. And then also console.log both of them afterwards. Refresh the page. So the same happened, and this is quite interesting. So now the reason here this is happening is probably because we need to change this to number 1, and then here in order to concatenate, so we can write const boys equal to boys1 concatenate with boys2, and here const boys, you need space here. Okay, there we go. So I can remove this one as well, and so here we don't have any boys, so let me also fix this. So the girls and the boys, and my array is sliced from 0 to 1. Okay, save this. There seems to be an error still here. Not sure why this is happening, so let me press some of the codes here. So, okay, here we don't have parentheses. Okay, let's save the code and refresh the page. So here, as you can see, the two are concatenated together, and the reason was that it was a constant array and we needed to define another one. So here we have the array related to the boys and another array related to the girls, and we created these two arrays using the slice method. So let me also create space between these two. So we learned how to work with splice and slice. Splice was very useful in order to modify an array, and slice was useful for creating subsets from the original array. So also remember that you can use the delete before the item that you're going to remove from the array. And in order to do that, the thing that happens afterwards you do this is that it's going to remove the item, but there's going to be remaining an empty space here, so it will not remove the item and do this just the same as shifting. It's going to bring about some empty space inside of the array. So let's see what that means. Let's try that. So for example, you can write delete, and for example you want to remove the first one, or for example the third one, so which is the position number 2 for Katrina, which is for the array, which is Katrina. So here I can write my array, and I can remove the position number 2. So let's save the code, see what happens here. So Katrina has been removed, and also let us console log here. Let's console.log my array just as it is, and save the code. So as you can see, although we do not have any item and it looks as though it's been removed, here you'll see something like empty. So it's written empty. We haven't removed the item from the array yet. However, it's been removed, but the length of the array hasn't been changed. So again, we have 4 elements inside of this array without the third one. So here we are seeing 3 items, but actually the length of the array is 4. So it's not very much recommended to use delete. So that's why I'm going to comment this, and I'm going to write not recommended. However, it is going to have its own use cases in some conditions and circumstances, and try not to use this as much as you can. So that's it for learning how to work with the arrays. We might add something, 1 or 2 other tips for the arrays in the next tutorials, but generally we're finished with this part. And here you've learned a lot about modifying and removing, adding items to the arrays, and how to define arrays, and how to handle different methods and how to handle different elements of the arrays.